Romie here. So this is the recap for Greenleaf Season 1, Episode 2, The Baptism. And the episode starts off with, the episode actually starts off with Grace. And Grace is currently in this whole pickle of, she's now going to work with her Auntie Mavis? Yeah, Auntie Mavis, who is Oprah's character, to go and try to take down her Uncle Mac. And the problem there is that she got this information from Mavis, and she's like, how did you get this information on this girl, Danielle? And she was just like, well, I talked to the right people, and this person gets it. Well, to be specific, she gets it. She understands, because of course it's illegal to go and share this sealed information. Now, Grace decides she's going to go and take on this case because she's doing it more so in memory of her sister, and the fact that she initially tried to, well, not initially, she tried to go and help her sister, but when she wasn't able to do so, her sister eventually killed herself. That's the long story short. So that's why Grace is determined to stop her uncle. Now, we have this new situation. What the hell is that? Oh, we have this new situation where you have, she's having a dream. Now, Grace is having this dream, and at first I was looking at it, I'm like, okay, so who's in this dream? Is that supposed to be her, or is that supposed to be Faith? I'm not sure which person that's supposed to be. I just know that I think it's supposed to be her. Maybe she was looking at her sister, I don't know. But the sermon was pretty much this, and it was ministering to younger kids, and it was like, look, how can we be perfect? We're not God. How can we possibly strive for perfection? That's not realistic. We need to focus on love. Love is what matters. It's like you go and you bite an apple and you expect it to be, and it tastes like a cheeseburger. How does that make sense? It doesn't. So striving for perfection doesn't make sense because only God is perfect. No one else. I was like, okay. But again, I'm still trying to figure out, okay, what is the connection? Is this actually Faith? Is this actually Grace when she was younger? Like, what's going on? So after that, we have, Pastor Jacob with his wife. What's his wife's name? The thin woman who gets on all our damn nerves. Where is that woman's name? Carissa? Whatever. You know what I'm talking about. So Bishop goes and calls him, and Bishop's like, I think it's about time that you take on more responsibilities. I think that it's about time that you go and you head the, not the worship team, I forgot what it was. Oh, the deacons board. You have to go and head the deacons board. And you can clearly see that Jacob's over it. Jacob has this look of, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? And Chris is just like, hello? Take it. Do it. What are you doing? And Carissa clearly wants this for Jacob more than Jacob wanting it for himself. That's actually the real issue. And I'm wondering how long it's going to take before they finally realize this isn't going to work out. Because Jacob only says yes, he'll do it because of Carissa. And Deacon knows, and Bishop knows that. Now, we have Grace. She drops off Sophia at school. And Sophia's irritated because she's not comfortable with what she's wearing. She doesn't know anyone at the school except for Zora, which is her cousin. And, she wants to go back home or go to New York, wants to be closer to her father. She just doesn't get it right now. And so she's just irritated. Grace is like, love you. This is like, type of thing. So after that, Grace is finally at the church. And she's meeting everyone at the church. Well, first she meets her brother. And her brother's like, it's good to have you. And it was interesting because you see the interaction that he has with his father's assistant, Bishop's assistant, Alexa. I believe that's what her name is. And Alexa's father, I believe, he's like an NBA executive or team owner. And so that's why Alexa got the job. And that's what Grace was trying to say. Oh, so you wanted some of that NBA money. You wanted some of that sports money. It's just like, how dare you? I want to minister to people. I want someone who is well qualified, who knows how to get the job done. I was like, okay, all right. But Grace has this look of what is going on, because Grace is trying to figure out, why does her father want her to go and be in charge? Because she's not going to go and be a pastor. That's not what she's going to do, at least for now. Because that's what that's what her father's doing. So instead, she's going to go and, you know, she's not going to be preaching. She's going to be ministering to people in a different way. I forgot what her exact title is, but people are going to come to her with her problems, and she's kind of like the main point of contact now between the outside world and the church regarding like everything you could think of, like baptisms, maybe needs to be prayed over. Like, she's the real person who's doing the physical work, getting hit with all the bullets, if you will, from the outside world. And that's why our father was like, your job's actually more important, because you have a direct impact on these people. He technically has an impact when he's preaching and all that, but it's different than having a one-on-one, being that first point of contact, being that go-in-between for the church. So Grace is going through her voicemail, and she's wondering why. The first voicemail, it was some dumb marketing things. Just like, nah, that's not the business. The second one, though, was about this this police officer. Now, if you don't remember, this is a police officer who, David Nelson, he's the guy who shot that boy. And of course, regardless of if you're black, white, whatever, as long as you're a police officer and you do something that people feel like that was unfair, you were overstepping with your power, they go and look at you the same way. So Grace becomes interested, because Grace is thinking, what is going on? Why did no one reach out to him? Because he was like, I just want to hear from someone because I need help. And of course the church at this point, this mega church, is like a regular company. And as a huge corporate company, you do everything you can to make sure that you maintain in the middle, not making too many waves type of image and position in the community, and also just in the outside world. And so that's why I'm sure they didn't reach back out to him with help, which is disgusting. That's terrible that that's what happened. Now we have Sophia, who's back at school. She's back at school, and it's different, man. She's not the smartest person there. She's not the only black person there. She's surrounded by black people. She's actually the whitest person at the school, really, stereotypically, because of where she grew up in. She grew up around white people, so maybe some of the terminology and all of that she doesn't know. So it's hard for her. And she's in math class, and there's this teacher who's essentially like, you're black. All of you are black, so you're going to strive for excellence. The book that he gave her has absolutely nothing to do with the material that they're learning. But his whole thing is, again, he's a black teacher, and he wants the best out of his black students, out of this up-and-coming black force. That's what he's probably seeing them as. So we have Alexa talking to Bishop and to Uncle Mac, and Alexa's just giving him the full rundown of, look, we're kind of screwed here. We're kind of screwed because they're coming after us. They're throwing the book. They want to do an official investigation. They want everything. They want every type of receipt you can possibly think of, down to how much you paid for the bubble gum at the corner store. They want it all. And so Bishop was just like, okay, so yeah, we'll go and handle that. Thank you for letting me know. I truly, of course, appreciate all the work that you do. As soon as Alexa left, not even when she closed the door, but while she was leaving and almost out of the door, she didn't hear it. But he was just like, there's no way in hell I'm giving them that. They must have lost their damn mind. Who do they think they're messing with? I'm like, okay. Because the issue is the church is being looked at as they possibly not committed necessarily, well, kind of like fraud, because tax evasion. So they pocketed that money with, they said it was coming from one source, and that it was being the distributed one. Yeah, so their whole mindset is, you know what? Yeah, screw them. We're going to continue to do whatever we want because at the end of the day, we're in charge. Now, Grace meets up with, like I said, this, I think she's like the board member, this really high-powered board member, church board member. And the issue is that this church board member, she's the grandmother to her granddaughter. And her granddaughter, her mom is out of town and her father isn't in their lives. And she wants to get her granddaughter baptized. And this is, of course, without the consent of the mother. And that's funny because we know how realistic this really is. We know how realistic it actually is for grandparents to go and try to do things behind the their kids' back when it comes to, you know, baptizing and things of that nature. Because, of course, they want their kids to be saved. They want to make sure that nothing happens to them. And so they ensure that, that they get into heaven and all. And so that's why the whole baptism, give yourself over to Christ. But it's still messed up, though, without the parents' consent. And Grace realizes that, okay, things are a little bit different now. Because now we have to go and kind of play their game. And it's really sad that that happens. And I know that that happens a lot. And by the way, her name was Sister Wilcox. I'm going to call her Sister Wilcox out of respect. But we have Jacob. He's going over to Alexa. And Jacob's flirting with Alexa and just saying, you know, I've missed you. We need to meet up soon. And I'm like, do you have any shame? Not even Jacob, but Alexa. Is this what you really want from your life? Probably it is, because you're okay with being the side chick. You get to go and have fun with him. You get to go and have fun with him instead of having to deal with all the BS. Oh yeah, please like, comment, subscribe. You don't have to deal with all of his drama. Now, we go past that, and it is the battle of the wills between Lady May versus Carissa. Yeah, Carissa. And Carissa is just like, she's serving out this food because she has to show Lady May what she's going to be giving to this couple that's coming into town. And I think this couple is pretty influential and probably has some money. And so that's why she wants them to join the church or something like that. And so Carissa is serving this food. And look, this was the actual portions of the damn food. Everything that she brought up was this size. So I was with Lady May when she was like, who are you serving this to? Like, who are you serving this to? How are they supposed to get full? You need at least double the portions. Why is this fish so small? Why are there actually 3 nuts on this plate? Who is that supposed to fill? What would that actually fill up? Come on now. So she's getting Carissa for that, and then Carissa goes and flips it and goes and try to see, you know, essentially, is Grace going to be staying for a while? What is Grace's duties at the church? Is she going to be working at the church? And it's like, yes, yes, and yes. And also, she was pretty much like, it's none of your business. It's none of your business because your husband's doing what he does. And what Carissa is trying to do is she's trying to cement Jacob's status at the church. And of course, with Grace coming back, that's pretty much in jeopardy. And she's very nervous and afraid of that. But Carissa needs to stop. Carissa has too much mouth. She is the ultimate mouthpiece. She is unneeded most of the time. She needs to just stop it. There we go. All right. And then we have Charity. Charity is talking with, again, someone else in the ministry, and they're going over things. And Charity wants to have more of a say, essentially. And the guy's just trying to downplay her and downplay everything she's saying. And so she was just like, look, do I need to do this and do that in order for you to understand where I'm coming from? He was just like, no, whatever, we'll go for it. And her friend is just like, Lord, what are you trying to do? Like, where's this pep from? So she goes and admits the fact that they're going to go and her and Kevin are going to go and try to have a baby. Now, speaking of Kevin, I like how they weave these weave the storylines in together, because it's like you're talking about one spouse and then you see the other person. I like that. And also, did anyone notice how for these newer shows, they just cut the commercial like that so abruptly? There's no type of like transitional music or anything. I don't know how I feel about that. I really don't know how I feel about that. But yeah, speaking of Kevin, Kevin is talking with this guy who's in charge of outreach. I think Kevin's technically in charge of outreach, and he's also working with this guy who they're housing a shelter. They're housing a shelter, and the important thing about this whole scene is that aside from the guy saying, you know, I appreciate the fact that you guys are actually giving us so much support and love, it looks like the guy, you know, he was looking at Kevin a certain way, and we all clocked it right away. It was like, okay, so Kevin is a down low person. And at this point, I don't know if Kevin really knows. I don't know if maybe he dabbled and dabbled when he was a little bit younger, and then he decided that this is what he needs. He needed to be married to someone of the church and of the faith and all of that, or if he never really explored it but was always kind of sideways interested. Let me know where you think Kevin is coming from, because I'm trying to think. I don't know if he was always down low or maybe and acted on it. Maybe he just never acted on it. But Kevin's also giving this guy glances and almost kind of looking like, wait, was there something there? Type of thing. Anyway. Oh. Grace comes in and her mother is talking to her Bishop. And Lady May is over Grace. Grace is trying to talk about how, you know, Sister Wilcox, she has this whole mindset of she's going to go and have her daughter baptized, and we're not going to be allowed to, and so it's like, what do you want me to do? What do I want you to do? Go and do it. Make her happy. This is how things work. And her mom's just like, little girl. And so Grace is just like, look, okay, yeah, I'll go and do it. Grace isn't happy about it, but she's still going to do it. She's still going to respect her father's wishes. And after that, again, with the transitions, we were just talking about Grace, so now we're talking about Sophia. Sophia's at school. The kids at school, they're not being mean to her. It's just that she doesn't understand their vernacular and their slang. And so Zora is trying to go and try to cover for her so that she doesn't become an outcast. Because you know how easily that can be. So I appreciate Zora for looking out for her. But Grace is still very uncomfortable. Sophia's still very uncomfortable. Grace is looking at this video, and it's the video of Danielle. And Danielle, the issue is that originally she gave the story that Uncle Mac said and did something to her, but now she recanted it. And so unless she goes back and say, no, it really did happen, and this is what happened, and this is what happened, and that's what happened, they're not going to have much of a case. But Grace goes and she meets up with Noah, and Noah was on the phone originally with Isabel. Isabel is actually his fiance. And Grace and Noah, long story short with that conversation, Grace just wanted to see, do you know if, you know, what do you actually handle? Like, what type of issues do you handle? He was just like, yeah, I'm just like the general middleman. If it's something small, that's what I handle. Anything big, I honestly don't. And she was like, good, that's all I need. But he actually invites her out to dinner with his girlfriend, with his fiance, and his fiance thought of it. I'm just like, okay, yeah, we'll see how sweet little Isabel really is. Now, Grace is talking to Sophie, and Sophie is so unhappy. Sophie wants to go and live with her father at this point because she doesn't understand why her mother brought her out here. And it's like, are you really serious about this? Are we going to go and am I going to be converted? Am I going to have to go and say, I believe in this, I believe in that? And she's just like, no, you don't have to do all that. But Sophie's still upset because she wants to go home. She's uncomfortable here. It's just a new environment, but kids do need change. You know, I was one of those where my mom and I moved around a lot, so I never had that issue of picking up and leaving. But again, this situation is a little bit different because this environment's really different. Now, back to Grace. Grace is practicing for her baptism. And right now, you can tell that Grace isn't feeling it. She's not feeling it, but she goes, she gets her robe, she gets a nice white robe, and she does the baptism for Sister Wilcox. And Grace has this look, she's so serious because she has this look of, I'm sorry, baby. Only because of the fact that you really weren't given the choice to make your own mind up regarding this, giving yourself to God, giving yourself to Christ. Next, Grace goes to see Officer David. I believe that's his name. And Officer David's in this hotel. He can't go home right now. But Jacob has this issue of he's not taken very seriously as far as at the deacon's table. I think that's what it's called. At the deacon's table. And you have this highfalutin woman there who's just like, well, you know, the issue is, one of the issues are, and it has to do with your father, the parking lots, they're taking too long to empty out. And of course, one of the issues along with that is because of the fact that he talks too long. He's too long-winded. So she's just like, that's one of the reasons why we wanted him here. And so everything that Jacob tried to do, she shot down. And Jacob was just like, look, you can go and talk about the woman stuff. You can send that in a nice little email presentation. I'm sure we'd all appreciate that. Now, wouldn't we? And they're all like, yeah. Even the woman there is just like, yeah, we kind of would just appreciate that. Because you can tell this woman's used to taking over. So I was like, okay, shout out to Jacob. Shout out to Jacob. Let's see if he can keep it going. Let's see if he'll take this more seriously, or if he'll just get an issue with this particular woman. But the whole point of him taking charge was so that he could let his brother-in-law, Kevin, talk about the outreach and what they're currently doing, and put the focus on another area. Now, David's talking to Grace, and he's just like, look, I can't go home. You know, it doesn't matter that I'm black. I'm still an officer at the end of the day. And so I wasn't giving the support. It was assumed that it was all my fault. And so Grace is just like, I'm sorry that it took so long for someone from the church to reach out. And of course, the reality is they probably, for optics, didn't want to go and reach out. And then she also gives him this file. She gives him this file that, it's the file, of course, on Danielle, and she wanted his advice. And he was just like, look, it's not going to work. You can't help her because she recanted. The only way that you can go and help her is if you can get the person who allegedly did the crime to admit to, get someone to admit to the fact that they coerced her. That's the only way that we can handle this. So she was just like, oh, I think I can do that. I'm like, okay, Grace, how are you going to do that? How are you going to do that? After that, we see a one sex scene and 1.5 sex scene, because we have Jacob and Alexa, they're having sex, and then we see Kevin and Charity, and they're trying to. And Kevin, he's talking more so about, I'm thinking, his sexuality is in question, not from her, not from his wife, but just from himself, and thinking, what if we're not ready? What if this doesn't work out, type of thing. That's what he's thinking in his mind. That's not what he's necessarily saying. He's trying to base it on having a kid. And I'm thinking, you're not ready to have a kid with her because you're just a little bit confused. And so we'll see how that comes into play. We see Lady May come downstairs, and she looks very distraught because, remember, they brought all of Faith's stuff into the house from Faith's apartment. And so Zora told Sophie about that. Next thing you know, they're up there pilfering Faith's stuff. I'm like, damn, really? Come on now. Come on now. And we go back from that, and the officer is still talking to Grace, and the officer is saying, well, you know, I just need someone. I reached out to the church in the first place because I need the support from the church that I go to when I'm doing this big press conference. So it looks like Grace is going to be the one to go and be by his side, because he needs someone from the church to kind of just back him up. They don't have to say anything. They just need to stand behind him and show support. And so Grace goes, because she knows where Danielle lives, because she has her file. Instead of talking to Danielle, she talks to her mother. And Danielle's just like, as soon as she heard that she was a Greenleaf, she was from the church, she was just like, you are not talking to my daughter. That is not happening today, tomorrow, or the day after. I'm like, okay. Are you overprotective, or are you hiding something? Because there's something off there. And we know what the real answer is, but as of now, that's what we're going to go with. And Lady May talks to Noah and says that, you know, your father was so good to us. Why don't I pay for your wedding? And he was just so flabbergasted. He was just so shocked and grateful. But we're like, Lady May is a rich, entitled, evil woman. We know how this works. You give a little to get a little. And her whole stance was, you know, of course, you need to, I'll do this for you, but if Grace comes to you and talks to you about anything out of the ordinary, make sure to let me know. And he was just like, yes, ma'am. I was like, oh, damn. No, we could have liked you. I hope that he doesn't go and snitch. I really hope he doesn't. And Sophia's listening to these tapes. And again, I don't know if it was Faith or if it was her mother talking about it. But again, it was very uplifting. It was talking about how none of us are perfect. And we need to accept that God is perfect. And we need to place our burdens on Him, on the Lord, instead of on ourselves. And it doesn't matter how we see ourselves, because we are all His children. There's a little bit of Him in all of us. Again, all very uplifting. And once Sophia hears that, she goes over to her mom, gives her a hug, and it's just like, okay, this may work out. Now, the last scene was actually of Uncle Mac, because we were just dying to see him. And he gets a call from Danielle's mother. And she's just like, you know, someone from the church came, a Greenleaf. He was just like, was it Grace? She was like, yes. I was like, you told me to call you if anything happened. It's like, yeah, I'll handle it. Don't worry. I'll handle it. It's like, you can't handle. You know what? We're going to leave it at that. Please like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. And stay tuned for episode 3 recap.